Recently, some online productivity experts like Tiago Forte have been promoting the concept of
a second brain. A second brain is a personal system for knowledge management.
The idea is that we are living in a time when we are exposed to so much knowledge and we consume so much information, which can be great, but for many of us, none of that knowledge really sticks. With modern technology, we are able to learn about anything at any time, but with so much cognitive input, it all starts to go in one ear and out the other. It doesn't matter how many books you read, documentaries you watch, or podcasts you listen to if after a week you forget everything you just learned. But with a second brain, or a personal knowledge management system, we can have a digital repository to store all of that interesting information, and then later we can search the system for that information and bring it back into memory. A second brain system is a tool that can be used to get more value out of our learning, and to ensure that the things that we learn are retained for the future. And if utilized well, it can become almost like a digital extension of the physical brain. As someone who learns too much but remembers way too little, I found myself very interested in the idea of a digital second brain. I loosely based my note-taking system on the Zettelkasten method, which is a knowledge management system created by German sociologist Niklas Luhmann. Put simply, in the Zettelkasten method, information is written as short notes on index cards, and then connections are formed between notes using references such as tags or number identifiers. In Luhmann's original system, he stored over 90,000 handwritten notes inside of many slip boxes, which is what the word Zettelkasten translates to. Using modern technology, I can create an entirely digital slip box and create connections between notes much more easily and clearly than with physical index cards. I'm using the app Obsidian for my second brain. The beauty of Obsidian is that links between notes can be added very quickly, and then a graph can be viewed that visualizes all of the notes in the system and how they are connected to each other. Using OneDrive, I configured the second brain folder on my desktop computer to auto-sync all files to the cloud and to my phone. So using the Obsidian mobile app, I can add notes to the second brain on the go, and everything will stay synchronized. Interestingly, the process of utilizing the second brain actually looks quite similar to the functioning of memory in the human brain. The process of memory begins with a sensory input of some sort, be it a fun experience, a conversation, a historical moment, or otherwise. Then, the sensory input is encoded, which means that the most important parts of the input are coded into memory. Next comes storage, which is when the information is retained so it is available to be used again in the future. And once the memory is needed, retrieval occurs, and the encoded memory is recalled from storage. The second brain undergoes a similar process. First comes a sensory input, which is whatever it is that I want to take a note on. This might be an interesting fact I read in a book, a meaningful quote that I stumbled upon, a Wikipedia article, or otherwise. Then the sensory input is encoded, which is when I write the note by putting it in my own words and summarizing the most important information. Then the note is automatically stored, both on my local machine and in the cloud. And once I need to retrieve the information, all I need to do is use the Obsidian search bar to find the note that I'm looking for. But the second brain isn't just about inputting information and saving it. The true value of the second brain comes when the individual pieces of information are able to interact, reference one another, and form connections. And once again, the way that my second brain system connects ideas is actually quite similar to how the brain works. At birth, the brain already has a significant number of neurons, but there aren't many connections. As the brain learns and it continues to develop, more neuron connections form and strengthen, making the neural network increasingly complex as time goes on. When I first started my digital second brain system, the first things I added were just general topics like geography, language, and history. So my second brain had neurons in place initially, but they weren't very connected. But then when I started to learn more and I added more notes, more connections formed until all of the topics were connected in some way or another. For example, the topics of mathematics and philosophy were initially completely separate from one another, but after I started adding some notes, math became connected to the Cartesian coordinate system, which was created by René Descartes, who of course was a famous French philosopher. The second brain had developed from a handful of unrelated topics to an interconnected network of information. At the moment, my second brain is still quite small. It only has about 250 notes so far, which is tiny in comparison to Niklas Luhmann's 90,000 index cards. But even with my small number of notes, I've already felt the benefits of a second brain system. The process of writing the information in my own words and relating it to other things I've learned in the past has made it much easier to remember the things that I learn. Now I feel like many of the interesting facts, quotes, concepts, and people that I learn about are actually sticking in my head after I am exposed to them, while in the past I would forget them soon after. By creating a second brain system, I have actually helped my first physical brain encode, store, and retrieve information more quickly and easily. But even if I find myself not able to recall something, it is easier than ever to quickly search it up using the second brain. And the beauty of this system is that, just like our real brains, my second brain will continue to develop, expand, and forge connections, forming a digital repository of all the information I learn. And as I keep adding to it, it will help me finally bridge the gap between knowledge acquisition and knowledge retention. As I learn, it will learn too, like an ever-evolving digital brain.